60 Seconds is one of my favorite games of all time, and after playing it for years and watching gameplay for even longer, I'd consider myself to be pretty knowledgeable in it. And while I'd highly advise learning the game by playing a bunch, there are some things you really can't just learn through regular gameplay, especially if you're planning on speedrunning or doing a long survival run. So I've decided to put some important survival tips in this video. It's not exactly forbidden knowledge, but these few tips will hopefully help you survive and make you less fearful of playing on Sarbama. The first piece of advice I have is relatively simple if you've seen playthroughs of 60 Seconds before, but it is super important for long runs: rationing your supplies correctly. Despite the tutorial suggesting to give people water every 4 days, they can actually last 5 days, which is significantly easier to keep track of. Whenever you run out of water, you can send someone out to scavenge as a last resort. Not only do they have a chance of bringing back water, they will also be fully hydrated when they come back, giving them 5 extra days to live and get more water. In terms of food, the advice is conflicting, to say the least. Some people say to feed every 5 days, some people say to feed only when they're hungry, or even wait 10 days and then feed every 5. The last one I really don't recommend, because I feel like they keep getting sick from starving constantly. But after some testing, I found that feeding them whenever they're hungry drains a little more food than every 5 days, because they always come back hungry from expeditions and need multiple portions of soup before they're no longer hungry. Another important thing to remember is that out of all the family members, the pets take up the most soup, especially if you're trying to get the cat lady ending. But for long runs, you need to do everything in your power to not get Sharagov, as regardless of anything you do, he will trigger an ending eventually. Even if you decline every single ending with him, it's inevitable because the cat lady ending will trigger on its own. Pancake is still okay because there are no endings tied to him, but he is a soup monster and will ask for 1 can about every 10 days. Which doesn't sound too bad until you consider that 1 can can be used to feed 1 person for 20 days. And even though Pancake also brings back materials when it might not be safe to scavenge, I personally feel like he brings back too much water and not enough soup to make it worth it for keeping him around for 50 plus days. So as much as I don't like it, I'd recommend using Pancake to get rid of bandits as soon as possible to prevent all the food waste and allow for a longer run while still using him to get some supplies back until the bandits show up. Another tip about rationing was one I didn't even know until a few months ago in case I was playing 60 Seconds. If you don't have a medkit, feeding a sick person soup for 4 to 5 days in a row has a chance to cure them. It works the best if they haven't been sick for very long, but it won't work at all if they're diseased. So make sure you routinely check on everyone by clicking on them in the bunker, which leads me to my most important piece of advice: check on everyone. 90% of the time, any family member will have some sort of status, whether it's being hungry, sick, tired, etc. But most negative statuses have 2 forms, starting with one less severe form that eventually becomes the more severe form if it hasn't been treated yet. What exactly is the big deal about this? The family members will only die if they have the most severe form. They cannot die from a given status if it is not severe yet. For example, the main 5 statuses are hunger, thirst, sanity, sickness, and injury. When the family's fine, the statuses won't show up, but when they do, they're going to be less severe statuses and say that the character is just hungry or thirsty. The notebook might have entries like, "Oh, do we have some water for Dolores?" or "Timmy normally likes apple juice, but he'll settle for water." Most of them are pretty casual, except for the crazy ones, but as long as their status is crazy, they should be okay. However, if you click on someone and they are starving, dehydrated, deranged, diseased, or in agony, it becomes a life or death situation. If the status isn't fixed in a day or 2, you can go ahead and start saying goodbye, because they'll likely be long gone very soon. Even in the notebook warns you with prompts like, "If Dolores doesn't eat tonight, she won't last until morning," or "Ted's got 1 foot in the grave." The only exception to this is deranged, where you have around 10 to 15 days to boost their sanity before they leave. Speaking of sanity, there are some scenarios that are guaranteed to boost your sanity if you pick the right option. For example, the Desperate Survivors will fully restore your sanity if you give them anything. The same thing will happen if you let Pancake or Sharagov into the shelter. Events that will boost your sanity but not fully restore it are refusing to rob people, finding family photos, and talking to someone who is not crazy. Talking to someone crazy has a chance to cure their insanity, but it also has a chance to make someone else crazy, making it quite a gamble. Speaking of gambling, scavenging in itself is a big gamble. Not just because the person scavenging has a chance to not come back every time, but there's also a chance for every successful expedition to be followed by raiders. To help prevent raiders, not scavenging can prevent them from showing up as often. There are 2 types of raiders, one that will cause a direct game over and the ones that will only steal your stuff. The more serious raiders will only show up if you get followed during a scavenge. You can tell if you've been followed or not by checking the notebook after every successful expedition. If there's nothing, you should be good. If there's a blurb saying that you've been followed, Then you have some time to get defensive items, but after around 20 to 30 days, the serious raiders are inevitable. I don't think there's any way to prevent them once they've followed you, but to buy some time, you can always prepare to scavenge so that no scenario can pop up the next day. Raiders also can't follow you home if you die on an expedition, because, well, they can't follow you home. You can tell the difference between the two types of raiders with the choices you're offered to defend yourself with. The easy raiders will have the option for bug spray, while the more serious raiders will have the harmonica. The best way to optimize defending for serious raiders is to use the harmonica both times first. Pancake will eat it if you go 2 scenarios without feeding him, so using the harmonica first gets rid of the chance for him to eat it. Then Pancake, the friendly mutants might handle them first, but that's okay. Then either of the weapons, with the padlock as a last resort. The padlock is easily one of the most valuable things in the shelter for a long run, because more than likely there will only be one family member in the bunker once the days start getting higher. The problem with this is that scavenging becomes very risky. Not only is there a chance for them to die or for raiders to follow them, but even a successful expedition can end in a game over because there's no one in the shelter to guard it, and it can be taken over by someone else. By having the padlock in the shelter, the person leaving will automatically use the padlock to lock the shelter until they come back. However, it's often broken after the expedition, so be sure to only use it when necessary and when the person has the best possible chance of coming back. When you give resources to the friendly mutants that will help you scavenge, anyone on the next expedition is guaranteed to come back, regardless of what their condition is. But without the mutants, anyone hurt, sick, or crazy has a lower chance of returning, and tired people can't be sent out at all. The game runs an estimated chance for each person to come back from an expedition before you plan one. While it's not guaranteed that a person will come back if they are confident going into the wasteland, giving them items like food, water, the map, or a weapon can increase their chance of coming back. Some items like the suitcase and cards can also increase the number of items brought back after scavenging. The stats and items a person has, though, aren't the only things to consider in an expedition. There are 3 types of environmental blurbs that describe what it's like on the surface: high radiation, unknown conditions, and raider activity. For the first 10 to 20 days, the radiation will be very high, and anyone sent to scavenge without a gas mask will come back sick. After a radio scenario about listening to the new world, the fallout outside will be gone, and anyone will be mostly fine without a gas mask. For long runs in particular, keeping the gas mask working is crucial, even after the radiation dissipates. The vast majority of scenarios in Reatomize can only show up once, and once they run out, only repetitive ones can show up. These include both types of raiders, feeding Pancake, and one scenario that can easily make it impossible to continue the run: the Stinky scenario. For the Stinky scenario, you need to use either the gas mask, bug spray, or ammunition to help the family members that stink. If you don't use anything, then everyone gets sick. Even if you have an extra medkit, this scenario keeps popping up over time, meaning that everybody will slowly get sick over and over again if you don't do anything. So, why is the gas mask specifically the solution? The ammo and bug spray get used up once you use them, and they can potentially help you fend off raiders. The gas mask can be used infinitely and has no other purpose once the radiation is gone, so it's pretty much the perfect counter. This isn't as much of a problem in the original 60 seconds, but it's still worth keeping a hold of in case it shows up. Next is the unknown blurbs, which will show up for most of the run. It's actually the safest condition because you can send someone out with nothing and they have a pretty good chance of coming back fine. With some luck, this condition can last for the rest of the run if you never get followed by raiders. Which brings us to our last condition. 20 to 30 days after you've been followed by raiders, bandits will be around the surface, making it extremely unlikely for anyone sent to scavenge to come back. Bringing a weapon with them increases their chance, but it's still quite low. If anyone is captured on an expedition, the scenario to raid the raiders might get them back to the shelter, essentially saving them and maybe even the run. And there you have it, some of my most helpful tips on how to live longer in 60 seconds. I'd like to appreciate the Phantom Wiki for all the specific numbers in this video, and for actually including tips that aren't even listed in this video. So if there's something that you haven't found here, go check it out on the Phantom Wiki, because they'll probably have it. If you have any other 60 seconds tips, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a part 2 and cover them. Thank you for watching, and now, obligatory outro time.